is the 77 WABC minicast.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. And joining us now is John Yoo, Professor John Yoo, great constitutional expert. And John's been waiting to ask you this question all day long.
Well, I don't know if you heard my talk with Bill O'Reilly or my talk with Newt Gingrich. The fact is, and I was on Fox this morning, the power to tax is the power to destroy. Well, everybody came to America for religious freedom, and we understand that. But can individual groups, whether they're billionaires or whether they're real estate owners or whatever, can any particular groups be out-taxed or discriminated against because of their groups? And I said to Stuart Varney at Fox this morning, I said, well, if they're doing that to me today, what are they going to do to you tomorrow?
Hey, it's great to be with you guys. I hope you're doing well in that weird East Coast tornado. I thought only people out here in the West Coast got crazy weather. I hope you guys are doing well. This is really
we are alive and well, and it's 55 degrees in New York City.
Oh my gosh, that does sound like you're having a tornado. So this is an interesting question. So of course, if someone used the tax power to violate some of the pre-existing categories we have against discrimination, it would be unconstitutional. Like you can't tax racial groups or religious groups.
See, you used an interesting
term. Different ways.
Professor, you used an interesting term, pre-existing. I'm talking about if they reach the FU level and they're going really, ajar.
Yeah, I sympathize with you a lot on this point. Like, why can the government just pick out one group to pay for everything more than another group? Our courts have not been sympathetic to that claim. I agree with you. I think that the founders would not have liked to have seen the taxing power used to divide us and say, well, this group's going to pay for all of this benefit or that group's going to pay for all of that benefit. But the courts have always, since the New Deal, since FDR packed the court, our courts have said we're not going to entertain those kinds of claims anymore. That's up to basically the political process. That is up to Congress to decide, which is, of course, just abdicating your interest.
Which is wrong. I mean, you can't discriminate against any one group, in my opinion. And me, I got an honorary legal law degree from one of the universities.
Matchbook cover.
Yeah. And Judge Weinberg, you have a comment?
Okay. John, good to talk to you again. All right. It seems to me the constitutional issues are equal protection, due process. Where it really comes up is these confiscatory, unrealized capital gain cases on wealth taxes. It seems to me that fails as a matter of constitution. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, this is something that people have challenged before. And, Madison talks about, if we can read the federal papers, Madison said one of the really big things the founders are worried about is a world where you have a lot of people who basically just take away the property of a smaller group of people. And there's nothing you can do about that in a democracy because the majority always wins. So Madison said that's why we should have a republic, not a pure democracy. And we want to build in safeguards against that. And we have a clause in the Constitution called the Takings Clause. But what the courts have always said is that we can't tell when a tax, say taxing everybody for 5% income tax becomes actually an outright seizure of property. It's just too hard. So the court has kind of given up on it.
Well, what about, can they say we're going to tax the Jews at 75%?
That they can't do because then you're using tax. You're already violating the Equal Protection Clause. You can't use the tax, just like you couldn't say, we're going to put Jews under special speech regulations, or we're going to put them under different warrant requirements. So you can't use the tax power to violate. I don't think you disagree with this. You can't use tax to discriminate against racial groups or against religious groups, ideologies. But what the courts don't want to get into, I wish it worked this way, but the law is the way the courts don't want to get into interfering with the way Congress decide to treat groups based on their economic characteristics, the wealthy or the poor, or what kind of work you do. So the courts have allowed the most outrageous legislative rules that punish one economic group over in favor of another.
Okay, but John, specifically, let me ask you this question because it concerns me enormously. I'm not talking about earned income. I'm talking about taxes that have already been paid on accumulated assets and making a wealth tax. My thought is that's unconstitutional.
I agree with you. The Constitution only allows the federal government to tax income, not wealth. Although, right, do you remember there was a Supreme Court case 2 years ago where the federal government might have come close and the Supreme Court brushed them back. But states don't have that same restriction. So states have, I think, unfortunately, have taxed wealth. So, for example, the property tax we all pay if you own property, that's a wealth tax, or a car tax. That's another wealth tax.
We don't own our property. We rent it. We don't own that property. We rent it from the cities and the states.
It's their money. We're just holding it temporarily, John.
I think it's a terrible thing to tax wealth. And you're seeing, right, people are voting with their feet. I mean, I think I've read something, well over 1 million Californians have left the state. I mean, California in the last census stopped growing, and everyone thinks in the next census, in a few years, California is going to lose several members of the House of Congress because the population is shrinking so fast. And I think one of the reasons for that is these outrageous taxes. We have a 13% tax on income, and obviously the civil service unions here want to start taxing people's wealth, like the billionaire tax that's been proposed. I'm sure it's not going to be one time, and it's not going to be limited to billionaires before long.
Right. It'll
drop down.
Yeah, it'll drop down. Well, John,
it all reached. We're going to have to take a break because we got somebody else. But it all reached pardon my language, the FU level, when all of a sudden that the New York City wanted to go from $7 million, New York State, whatever it is, $7 million on the
exemption on the state
down
tax.
to $750,000,
and the rate was 50% rate.
Everybody's home in New York City is worth $750,000.
That's a huge amount. It's like 90%. I mean, it's huge.
I totally agree. It's the same thing out here in California. I think it really runs against the norms of our Constitution and our system of government. But we can't look to the courts for help on this one. They're not going to help us out. You got to go out and change the government, win elections, or just move to Florida and fix it.
We'll meet you there.
We'll see you there. Thank you all. Thank you for coming on, and keep telling the truth to the American people. Our job at WABC is to tell the truth and to let everybody know it. And if we have a zillion listeners, let them realize what we're telling them is the truth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.